Hello again. Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris, here to talk baseball. Thank God baseball season is all the way here now, Rory. With Major League Baseball having started, you are in Columbia where you're watching a Missouri team which has had a very interesting season. I got to see a lot of Missouri in the first weekend. It was taking on the Big 12, looked really good. Missouri just clobbers Tennessee 2 weekends ago in an outcome that shocked everybody in freezing cold weather. But since then, boy, it has taken a different turn. Injuries have taken a toll. Missouri has dropped 6 straight in the league. Rory, thanks for joining us. What's been the story between that demolition of Tennessee a couple of weekends ago that got everybody's attention and the 0-6 since? I know it's been playing good teams, it's been injuries, but what have been the big differences between that start in the league play and what we've seen the last 2 weekends?
Yeah, I mean, they've had some injuries to battle with on the pitching staff, which doesn't help. Um, that's just a big struggle that they've had. I mean, they had Trusser start the other day in their first game against Kentucky, and he wasn't even able to complete an inning, giving up 5 runs. And that kind of happened that whole series. There was some struggles there, but I mean, against South Carolina, that first game that they lost in a throwing error, I mean, that just hurt. And I think that kind of clouded over the team for that entire series. But I mean, they just dominated Tennessee, and I was really looking forward to continuing that streak. But they've lost 6 since. I mean, the offense. I mean, you can blame the pitching staff for not being able to produce, but the offense hasn't been there either. They're missing Ross Lovich, who against Tennessee, I feel like he had a hit in each at bat. He hasn't played in a while. That's hurting them on offense wise. But if you look at their most recent game against Kentucky, that was the only game they weren't run ruled, but they lost 3-1, and they left the bases loaded in the third and seventh innings. They left 16 players on base throughout the entire game. It's not looking good. They were on a hot streak, and it just hasn't stayed the same.
Yeah, and the bad news is the hottest team in the league is heading to Columbia this week, and we'll get to that in a bit. But, I've watched some of those games. I watched the end of that first game against South Carolina. They had a 3-run lead in the ninth in Columbia, South Carolina. I think, did Missouri score, or Columbia, or excuse me, I want to say Carolina scored maybe 3 or 4 runs, maybe without even a hit. You saw the ground ball to shortstop. They make a bad throw. I mean, that was right there for the taking. They couldn't get it. It felt like they had guys on base all day in Lexington this weekend in that Sunday game. They were right there to close 2 games, and despite the injuries, they were there and just couldn't do it.
And it's super frustrating to see that, because they could be such a good team. I mean, look what they were able to do against Tennessee. They should be able to do this against other teams in the league too, but they've dropped 6 straight. And I mean, it's frustrating. Just the offense not being able to produce. Your pitching, normally they average like double digits for strikeouts, and the highest anyone got over the weekend was like 3. I mean, it's hard to watch. It's been a struggle. It's killing me here, but I mean, and then you've got Vandy coming in this weekend. They scored 29 runs in their series against Georgia. Meanwhile, we scored 3. So, I mean, it'll be hard.
Well, you can kind of explain what's happened. Tony Newbeck, who's one of their ace relievers, he's done for the year. I think you said he tore a UCL.
Mm-hmm.
Chandler Murphy's missed some time. He's been good when he's been healthy. He came back. Sam Horn, who looked so good to start the year when they played the Big 12 teams. He, of course, is competing to be the quarterback on the football team. He's been done a while. He might be back. You mentioned Lovich has been out. I mean, these aren't just guys that are hurt. These are key dudes that Missouri really was leaning on to win a lot of these early games that it won.
Yeah, and that's just what's hard to watch. I mean, with Newbeck, I was at that game that he tore his UCL, and I didn't even think anything of it. I mean, he pitched an inning in relief and was just moving his elbow, and I'm like, oh, like that's gonna suck. He was pitching so well, and then a couple days later, it comes out that that's what happened, and he's gonna need surgery. I was like, whoa, did not look that serious at the time, but that one's gonna sting for a while. I had talked to Beiser in a post game a couple games back, and I think it's in an article from not too long ago. But he said they expect to get Sam Horn back before the end of the season, hopefully, maybe even in a starting role. He had brought up, which might really come into effect now. I mean, Chandler Murphy, to have him back was good. He pitched in the final game against Kentucky and only gave up 1 run. So that was good to see. He was able to pitch a complete 6 innings, which was more than Zach Franklin, who pitched 1 inning and gave up 7 runs, and Trusser, who pitched .2 and gave up 5. So, I mean, the injuries just plague him, and it sucks to see.
Before we get into the lineup, I mean, again, I think one thing that stood out about Missouri, Rory, when Missouri is healthy, it is pitched. Rorik Maltrud has been one of the big guys too. The guy has struck out, and I think it's all been in relief. No, I'm sorry, he's made 3 starts. He struck out 41 guys and walked 7 in 27 and third innings. That kind of guy in your bullpen is a really, really valuable piece. And I still think they've got some. You saw Wilmsmeyer pitch the other day. You really don't want to lean on him there, but he pitched okay. It's going to be interesting to see how they piece it together if they can't get healthy.
Yeah, and that's I mean, it's a concern they're going to have. I feel like their relief needs to step up. Daniel Whistler's been pretty good in relief too. That's another one to watch out for. He's been good. He struck out 2 the other day. I want to say he pitched 3 innings. And then Kyle Potoff was pretty good the other day too. So it's good to see their relief coming in hot, but their starting just needs to take off too.
Well, they've still got a fairly formidable lineup. It may be a little bit top heavy. Luke Mann's been great all year. Henry Zeisler's been a really nice find for them. Trevor Austin, who's been there a while, has hit well. Dalton Bargo's given them things at times. Wilsmeyer's been around a while. Lovich, I don't know what the prognosis on him coming back is, but he's a guy who can really help. It feels like the top half of their lineup is still good enough to win some games.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think Luke Mann has the highest batting average on the team in SEC play. I mean, he's great. He's always producing. I want to say had a hit in 2 games, maybe just one of them. I know he snapped like an 8-game hitting streak, but I want to say that was in the game that nobody was really producing. But he's there. You constantly see Trevor Austin grabbing a hit on the score sheet. Dalton Bargo, like you said. Juju Stevens has stepped up too. He's had a couple pretty important hits in the last couple series, so that's good to see too. He's kind of moved into a starting role out in right field. He was coming off the bench for a while, but you know, when you produce, you're put in the starting lineup, and it's good to see that from him too.
Before we get into the matchup with Vanderbilt, what else is standing out with Missouri that maybe we've not gotten into?
I mean, I brought it up a couple times. I have a ton of notes here about it. Just it hurts when you look at their most recent game, losing 3-1, and one of their runs was scored off an error. And I honestly think the other 2 were avoidable. So it's little things like that. It's the fact that they left the bases loaded. They left, I think in total, 25 players on the bags over the weekend. Just not being able to drive home those runs, and it's incredibly important. That's what wins your games. So I'd like to see that kind of come into play against Vanderbilt, but it's not going to be an easy series, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if you have splits on Missouri, but lefties, get used to it because that's what you're going to see this weekend. Vanderbilt's got 3 lefties starting. It's number 3 starter. Devin Futrell just won SEC Pitcher of the Week with shutting out Georgia.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hitting them over 8 innings. You got Carter Holton and Hunter Owen, who were potential first round guys. Owen would be this year, and Holton would be next year. Vanderbilt right now got the best, start to finish 1 to 3 rotation in the league, and oh, by the way, Nick Maldonado coming out of the pen has been really good too. But 3 lefties, that's not a dynamic you're going to see often, and 3 premium guys at that.
Yeah, if you look at, it was in Vanderbilt's first game against Georgia, Carter Holton had 10 strikeouts. I mean, he was pushing. Vandy's on an 11-game win streak to begin with, and with these 3 coming in, I want to stay positive, but it's not looking too hot right off the bat. I mean, everybody struck out at least 5 with Futrell and Owen as well. And Futrell, as you said, won Pitcher of the Week in the SEC, so it'll be difficult. And then from their offense, they've got Schreck coming in. I mean, want to say he had a triple, couple doubles, home run. He had a great weekend. So that's another thing that Mizzou pitching is going to have to watch out for.
Well, the other thing with Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt's been hitting the long ball, which wasn't part of what it did pre-conference so much, but the bats have come on. But Vandy, I think, wanted to win games small balling a lot. They'll bunt sometimes for hits, sometimes a sacrifice. They'll run a lot. Enrique Bradfield Jr., you're going to enjoy seeing him this week. And he's as good a center fielder, major league, college, minor league that you'll ever see. Just takes away anything and everything that's close. And of course, he's challenging. I think he's either become or going to become the all-time leader in steals. He'll probably swipe 50 bases this weekend. I think controlling the running game for Missouri is going to be a big thing too.
Yeah, that's another thing that you've got to watch out for. I mean, it's this like little hits. It does damage a single after single, which they were able to do against Georgia. And I'm sure they're going to come in with the same mentality against Mizzou. So, I mean, as I've said multiple times, it's going to be difficult. I mean, over the weekend against Georgia, they scored 29 runs against Mizzou's 3. I mean, they've been a powerhouse. I mean, Mizzou against Kentucky was shut down to a .79 batting average. And it's going to be difficult for them to come out of that slump and try and defend Vandy off of. They're just on a tear.
Well, and nobody knew it at the time. The schedule makers probably didn't do Missouri a lot of favors. You knew Tennessee would be tough, but at South Carolina, at Kentucky, I think those are two probably top 5 team in the country teams in my mind. Vandy this weekend in a road trip to College Station. An Alabama team coming up, I think, is underrated. Then at Florida, then it gets easier. Missouri's chance, Ole Miss, Georgia at home, both those at home, and then at Auburn. Missouri's just got to stay with its head near water because I think the schedule on the back end, if the Tigers can stay healthy, might allow Missouri to sneak into a regional, which I think Missouri, to be fair, has been robbed a couple of times recently.
I think that their start of the season was super important too. They were able to grab a ton of wins right off the bat, which really helped them. And they did have a great series against Tennessee. I think in the end, that's really going to help them as well, that they were able to do that. But yeah, I mean, they were given a rough stretch with Tennessee, USC, UK, Vandy. Then they go to A&M, and then Bama comes here. And it's not going to be easy, but you just kind of got to push through and try to grab wins here and there and show that you're a team that is a force to be reckoned with, which they haven't done as of late, but I do think they have it in them. And as you said, it'll be incredibly important for them to stay healthy. I mean, if they're healthy, I think they're a good team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was very impressed seeing them in the Big 12 event back in February, to the point I was shocked at how good they looked when they were healthy. And really they carried it into the Tennessee series. Again, I think you can blame health and the schedule as much as anything. But here's the silver lining for your Missouri, Rory. This team is 11-1 at home. So Missouri's been pretty tough to beat in Columbia. I don't know what the weather's like this week, and it seemed like it's
nice
perpetually
out.
cold, wet, and dreary.
For the first time, it's 80 degrees today.
Days. Oh, we'll
it's
take
wild.
It. That means it's headed my way in Nashville. So that's good to know. But well, hopefully it'll be a better weekend for baseball than what we've seen. But okay, Missouri again been good at home. What's the recipe to maybe taking a game or two off Vandy this weekend?
I mean, that's what I'm hoping, is that being at home will help. I think if they can grab contributions from the front of their lineup with Mann and Austin and Bargo all pretty much taking the first 3 spots, and then normally Zeisler comes in either to clean up or bat 5th. So I'm hoping that if they're able to show up, that will be good. I mean, Chandler Murphy showed up when he was pitching the other day. So, I mean, as basic as it sounds, they just need their pitching to be there, because I feel like when their pitching's there, that's kind of enough for them to tack a few runs on here and there. And I feel like that's why they were super successful against Tennessee too. They were able to shut down their lineup. And I think if they can do the same against Vanderbilt, then they would stand a chance.
Rory, any parting thoughts on Missouri in this series as we end the episode today?
I'm just trying. I mean, I'm hoping for the best. I think they can pull it off. People went into that Tennessee Mizzou series thinking Tennessee was going to sweep them, and they were able to prove everybody wrong. So I think that you kind of have to give them that a little bit, is that, they're underlooked, which I feel like sometimes helps them. I mean, it helped their basketball team. So maybe it's just a school wide thing in general, but I'm hoping for the best. I think I think if their pitching shows up, it'll be a fun series. And I mean, as a baseball fan, I'm excited to watch Vandy. So we'll see.
What Missouri needs is more Dennis Gates. Dennis Gates is always a recipe to win.
Come coach the baseball team, please.
Oh man, the Dennis Gates jokes are not ending here at Southeastern. We've had a good time with that this year. Well, Roy, thank you for joining us. I'm sure we'll catch up on Missouri baseball and maybe some SEC baseball. How do folks follow you?
My Twitter is Rory Whetstone 7. You can follow me there. I retweet articles there and post thoughts on the Cubs and Dansby Swanson every now and then. So if you Dansby Swanson. I want to wear his jersey in one of these. I have it. I've got it in my room. So yeah, I mean, I'll post thoughts there, and I hope you guys enjoy it and follow that. So
hey, thanks for joining us. It's been fun, and hope you have a good time watching the Commodores and the Tigers in Columbia this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for watching our baseball coverage at Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris. Best way to catch all our coverage, and you're going to see baseball stuff almost daily from here on out through the end of baseball season. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps get us noticed. Again, she's Rory Whetstone. I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.